In my past life, I was nothing more than a puppet, a fragile girl forced into royalty, betrayed by those I trusted most. The crown prince never loved me, and I died with tears in my eyes. But fate gave me a second chance. This time, I wouldn't be the victim. This time, I would marry the crown prince, but on my own terms. I woke up in my bed, in my old room, the sunlight through the pink curtains, the silken covers. I was 16 again. I had returned to the very beginning. In my last life, I obeyed. I smiled. I suffered. But this time, I would be strong. I would change everything. When the maid came in and gasped, I smiled gently. Yes. I've never felt more alive, I said. Inside, I was already planning. They thought I was weak. They thought I was stupid. But I remembered everything. Later that night, I sat at my desk flipping through old journals. I knew exactly what would happen in the next 2 years. Who would betray me? Who would fake friendship? Who would try to destroy me? I looked at myself in the mirror, no longer a fragile girl. Now, I was someone reborn, with fire in her eyes. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived from the palace. The crown prince had requested my presence for tea. In my past life, that day began my pain. But now, it would start my power. The royal gardens were beautiful fountains, roses, golden statues. He was there, cold, distant, handsome, just as I remembered. He stared at me. I heard you fainted. I trust you're stronger now. I smiled. Oh, much stronger than you'll ever know, Your Highness. He paused, surprised. Interesting. At tea, his silver eyes studied me carefully. You look different. Perhaps I finally learned how to breathe, I replied. He said he would proceed with our engagement. In my past life, I had begged to escape. Now, I would accept and use it to rise. The next day, Clarissa returned, my fake friend from the past. She smiled sweetly. You didn't tell me you met the prince. I'm so happy for you. I smiled back. Thank you, Clarissa. I hope we stay close, forever. She blinked, confused. This wasn't the Ariana she remembered. At night, I locked myself in my study, drawing maps, writing letters, listing names. Which nobles had betrayed the crown, which maids were spies, which servants were paid to poison me. I would not die again. This time, I would rise. Days passed. The crown prince began watching me more closely. You're no longer afraid of me, he said during one walk. Should I be? I asked. Not unless you plan to betray me. Then you have nothing to fear. And for the first time, he smiled. Whispers began. She's too bold. She's only a merchant's daughter. Why is the prince so interested in her? But I had started something. I couldn't stop. Let them come. I wasn't the same girl anymore. One night, in the shadows of the garden, a knight stepped forward. You're alive, he whispered. Yes. And I remember everything. This time, you won't die for me. He kneeled. Then let me protect you properly. I placed a dagger in his hand. We have a kingdom to save. I wrote a letter to the emperor himself. If I revealed the truth too early, I'd die. If I waited too long, others would. It had to be perfectly timed. Clarissa tried to destroy me again, but I set a trap and publicly exposed her lies. That's one snake down, I thought. Later that night, under the stars, the crown prince stood before me. You've changed, he said. So tell me, who are you really? Someone who saw death and came back stronger. He was silent for a moment. Then he touched my cheek softly. I should fear that, but instead, I admire it. A message arrived. My father had taken a bribe again. He had sold me out again. In both lives, I whispered, you chose gold over me. I had him banished from the palace. My voice didn't shake. Blood doesn't define loyalty. Actions do. At the royal banquet, he stood. I had planned to marry Ariana for politics, but now I wish to marry her for love. Gasps filled the room. He turned to me. If you'll accept, I want you by my side, as queen. I stood calmly. I accept, but not as a flower beside your throne, as your equal, as your partner in ruling. He smiled and bowed before me. Months passed. I crushed corruption. I reformed the court. The people loved me. But one final traitor remained. A duke tried to poison the crown prince. I caught him myself. In my first life, I was silent, I said. In this life I speak. And when I speak, justice follows. He was banished, and the people cheered. On the palace balcony, I stood with the man I once feared. You changed everything, he whispered. I smiled. No, I just became who I was always meant to be. He kissed my forehead as the sun rose behind us. In my first life, I was a pawn. In my second, I became the queen.